devil. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L. I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V-I, I'm the D-E, I'm the D-E-V, I'm the D-E-V-I-L, the devil.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Final Word with MattyB here on the what is this? Oh, yes, the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Yes, on this lovely, frigid Wednesday, February the 12th, 2025. It's great to be back with you for another riveting night of sports talk. That's what we do here. Talk sports. My brand of sports, I guess. It's not really my brand. It's, from my point of view, open to the discussion, of course, which is what I strongly encourage. So please give us a like, a subscribe, a smash the button, a hello, a how you do, and interact for all it is worth, because that is what we do. We debate, we have fun, we talk, we enjoy each other. So we are midway through, actually, goddamn, midway my ass. We are towards the end of our broadcast week. Just one more episode left, and it's another week in the books. And we have a lot to talk about, as usual, here on the program. Today's a great day in Philadelphia sports across the spectrum. Not only if you're an Eagle fan, because of still basking in the glory of a Super Bowl championship, but spring training officially started today down there in Clearwater, when the Phillies pitchers and catchers reported for official team workouts, the first of many over the next 7 months, as the baseball season now has officially dawned upon us. And if you are a baseball fan, and I don't mean just Phillies fan, but a baseball fan, take a look on your ESPN Plus app or your ESPN Plus part of your ESPN website, and fast forward or go down to the NCAA baseball tab, and you're going to see a litany of games starting Division I on Friday, as the Division I baseball season will begin nationwide. You might be asking yourself, MattyB, how is that possible? How are teams, say, in the northern quadrant, like Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, places like that, how can they begin their baseball season in February? Well, simply put, the NCAA does not discriminate about where you're from. They have a set, you need to get through a set amount of games. I think it's 56 in order to qualify for the College World Series. And they got no choice but to start the games in mid-February, because in a lot of parts of the country, the weather is actually baseball-like. And what they do for those parts of the country, and for those teams that don't resonate in those parts of the country, they offer a lot of early season, like, opening tournaments. So, for example, say you're the University of Pennsylvania, you're obviously not going out and playing Friday in Philadelphia. You're not playing baseball on Friday in Philadelphia, but you might find your way down to San Juan in a tournament, or you might find your way down to North Carolina for a tournament, or you might find your way out to LA for a tournament, something like that. That is how they do it. But baseball does start Division I. If you're Division or 2 or 3 or a junior college fan, your season's already started. But Division I will kick off on Friday. So we are just about here for the baseball season. And it's a great time of the year. As I mentioned last night on the show, it was a show dedicated to the transition times. And we are blessed this year here in Philadelphia not to have much of a transition time between football and baseball, literally days. So that is definitely a top front page story here on the program tonight, that the baseball season is ongoing, is underway. The Phillies and spring training and pitchers and catchers are all reported. The rest of the team is like there next week. And then games I believe begin on the 22nd. I think the first Phillies game is on the 24th of February as they'll get the spring training season started. And then opening day is March 29th in DC, Phillies Nationals, for those of you that are keeping score at home like I am. And we, of course, here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network will be there for you all season long on the Fightins Final. As I mentioned last night, the final is coming back for its 4th year, and we are happy, and we are going to be ready to provide you the best in non-homeristic Philadelphia. Well, I can't speak for the rest of them. I can speak for me. It will not be, of course, Homer driven. It'll be subjective, or I should say objective. That's not, I didn't mean subjective. I meant objective. As we will get ready to start the season. So hang on. Because the baseball season is here. But in the meantime, that's not all we're going to talk about tonight, because you might have seen the title of the program is Birds Love versus Homerism. That's right. The Homers have reared their ugly heads already. They can't just leave it alone, right? They can't just revel and bask in a championship. No, they gotta push the pedal to the metal. Not even like 48 hours after the Eagles win a Super Bowl, by start the nonsensical rantings of Jalen Hurts being the best quarterback in Eagle history and Nick Sirianni being the best quarterback in Eagle history. And then I heard one buffoon say that the Eagle 2024 defense was the best Eagle defense of all time. I suggest that individual crack open a book or go back in time and watch some actual footage of some defenses that sported about 9 or 10 Hall of Famers in its day. Those are the defenses that are the best defenses in this of all time. Will the Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jordan Davis, doubt it, but will that defense eventually find its way to the top of that heap? Yeah, maybe, but we're talking like 10 years from now before you can make a bombastic claim like the best defense of all time. You cannot base it off of one season, because if we did that, if we based the performances of the Eagles off of one season, Jalen Hurts would be considered an elite quarterback. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I misspoke. I just completely destroyed my own point. That's right. I'm sorry. That's what we did do after 2022. We elevated Jalen Hurts to elite status. Okay, let me rephrase that. For the rational thinking Eagle fan, they need more than just one good season of excellence before you can start crowning people the greatest of all time. The Jalen Hurts conversation of the greatest quarterback of all time is probably the biggest mystifier to me. He's got one Super Bowl championship, and that's correct. He does. But so does Nick Foles. I don't remember the conversation ever resonating to Nick Foles' ability as the greatest quarterback of all time in Eagles history. And to be honest with you, what Nick Foles did in his one Super Bowl victory surely was a little bit more than what Jalen Hurts had to do in his one Super Bowl victory. So if we're basing it completely off Super Bowls and Super Bowl victories, I would think that Nick Foles, and by the way, where's the Jalen Hurts statue outside of Lincoln Financial Field? Somebody please tell me where they put that so I can pay homage to it. It's not there. I'm just saying, if you want to start crowning people the greatest of all time based off of one season, you might want to go get checked out, because as I've said multiple times on this program, I sympathize with people that are inflicted with Homerism. I do. I know it's a disease. I know it's a debilitating disease. I know it destroys your life. It brings you to your knees. And I know that. And I am here. I've said this before. I'm here for you. I'm here to be your support structure. I'm here to break the chain. I am here to break the bonds that bind you. Just reach out. MattyB is here. And we will walk. I will walk you through it. If I can't get you through it, I'll hire a deprogrammer. We'll come by with a van, toss you in the back of it, take you to a warehouse somewhere, and we'll deprogram it out of you. I promise I will not leave you behind. I'm a soldier. And one of our first core values was you never leave anybody behind, and I will never leave even the most slobbering homer that I know, and trust me, I know a few of them. I would never leave them behind, and I would never blatantly be disrespectful to them, because I know it's a disease, and I know you're not in your right mind, and I know you are desperately seeking help, and I'm here to provide that help for you. So please just reach out, and maybe we can work it together, and I could save you and bring you back from the abyss. But we're going to get into some more Eagles talk tonight because the show is titled Birds Love versus Homerism. And I like to start out every program that I discuss or dwell into the infliction of Homerism. I like to start out with a PSA. And this is from the heart. I'm not being two-faced or two-cheeked or two-tongued or too anything about this. I mean this. I'm here for you. All the homers out there, all the slobbering homers, all the homers that rise and fall with the nonsense that they're being fed by the great big Philadelphia sports machine on a daily basis. I am here for you. I am here for you to help you. I am your friend. I will never turn you away. I will never cast you asunder. So just reach out to me, and we'll walk it through together. And we're gonna discuss what I think Birds Love and Homerism is. And I want to discuss how there's a big portion of the Eagle fan base out there that are actual fans, that are actual, intelligent people that can see through the bullcrap, enjoy the moment, and not be relegated to try to make yourself feel good all the time, trying to create certain stories where there's nothing, narratives that the kumbaya-ness, the brotherly love and all this, that all that has to exist in order for a football team to win. The Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl and your quarterback and your wide receiver don't get along. So that should prove to you straight up that you don't need that in order to win. So we'll get into some of that tonight. It's going to be the base of our show, is the Birds Love versus Homerism. And it goes all the way across the board in all four majors. It's not indicative to the Eagles. It's an all four majors problem. But tonight we'll obviously center with the Eagles, seeing how they are the reigning Super Bowl champions. And it should be enjoyed. 100% enjoyed. I told you this 2 nights ago when I did the post-game show. I got no more bullets left. I can't sit here and chop them down anymore because they've proven they're the champs. Absolutely 100%. And but I am also not going to coronate Nick Sirianni, that fool, as the greatest head coach in Eagle history. And I certainly am not going to coronate. Did I say coordinate before? I meant coronate. Coronate, is that how you say it? When you make somebody like the king and queen, all that. I'm not going to do that to a game manager quarterback and above average quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Because the first question that I want to start out with tonight, it's a question that I've been thinking about for the last 3 days. And I think I brought it up last night. And if I didn't, I'm going to bring it up now. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. 24 hours ago was a long time ago. But the question I have for you, and I brought it up kind of earlier, Nick Foles. That's right. Nick, going back to the ghost of Super Bowl 52 here. Nick Foles. What Nick Foles did in Super Bowl 52, what he did against Tom Brady, the back and forth, and then came out on top at the end of all that with help from the defense and help from his offensive weapons. Do you put this performance of Nick Foles in the same light as you put the performance of Jalen Hurts? Because we're talking Jalen Hurts is the greatest quarterback in Eagle history based off of a Super Bowl win. But do you put what Jalen Hurts did in Super Bowl 59, and you put that up against what Nick Foles did in Super Bowl 50. And the reason why I'm using Nick Foles is because he's the only other quarterback that's won a Super Bowl. The only other Eagle quarterback that's won a Super Bowl. Do you put their two performances up next to each other and say Jalen Hurts, based off of the Super Bowl win against the Chiefs, is the greatest quarterback of all time, but yet Nick Foles, who legitimately won the MVP, who literally went toe-to-toe, snap to snap with the GOAT himself, and they found a way to win against a very good Patriot dynasty team? Do you put those two performances up against each other? And if we're picking based off of the great, because apparently that's the tipping point here for Jalen Hurts, right? That's what all the homers are saying has put him ahead of all the other quarterbacks in this town, is that he's now won a Super Bowl. Have we forgotten what Nick Foles did? Have we forgotten what we did? And based off that criteria, and you're putting up their performances, I guess, between, because when was the last time Jalen Hurts threw 7 touchdowns in one game? Hey, I don't think he's ever done that, right? Nick Foles has. Nick Foles never got the love, never got the ups as a starter. He truly got disrespected here in this town in the 7-8 years that he played here. But every time he was called upon, he was money in the bank. But he never got that love. He never got the love as a true number one as a true. And when you talk about Nick Foles as being the greatest quarterback in Eagle history, people kind of look at you sideways because they think you're crazy because he was never really the starter, never given the mantle of franchise quarterback, but yet he won a Super Bowl. And if we're basing, because now the homers are completely unhinged. Now the homers are completely weapons free right now. It's an old military term when it means go and kill. Now they're completely weapons free when it's about talking about Jalen Hurts as the greatest quarterback in Eagle history because he won a Super Bowl. I said this from the very beginning of it all. The performance of Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl, this Super Bowl, the one that happened a couple of days ago, was that the reason why the Eagles won the game? Could have any quarterback done what Jalen Hurts did or performed on the same level or given a substandard performance or a backup quarterback performance? And would the Eagles still have won that football game? No one's asked that question, or if they have, they get shut down by the homers because the homers don't want to approach that topic. They don't want to approach that. They don't want to discuss it because they know the answer to that question is that Jalen Hurts had little to nothing to do with the outcome of Super Bowl 59. And that's okay. Because out of the other side of the homer's mouths, they always talk about, well, we don't need him to throw 300 yards a game. We don't need him to throw 4 touchdowns a game. We need him to be the game manager, hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley, and do what he has to do that way. So what is it? You cannot be a limited quarterback and yet also be considered the greatest quarterback in franchise history. Which is it? I'm asking the homers out there. And I know some of you are watching right now. Have the friggin' balls to come. Matter of fact, not even chime in. And you know who I'm talking about right now. If you want to debate me instead of taking shots at me on your show, and you know who I'm talking about, then come on. You want a war? I'll give you a war. Pull me on. I'll pull you on, and we'll talk about this man to man. Stop taking cheap shots at me when I'm not listening or I'm not around. And I got to hear from secondhand people that somebody's talking about me. But you know what? Again, as long as you're saying MattyB at the It's a Wrap Sports Network, and I'm not that upset about it. But stop being a little child and taking cheap shots at me. Come on. You want me? You got me. Bring me in. Let's go. Let's get this thing out in the open. It's either he's a game manager or he's an elite quarterback, right? And I've said I am not anti-Jalen Hurts. But I'm certainly not going to crown him the greatest quarterback in Eagle history, especially based off of his performance in 2024. How many times has this broken record got to be spun around? Why did the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year? Somebody tell me, was it the performance of Jalen Hurts? Was it the performance of Jalen Hurts is why the Eagles won the Super Bowl this year? If you took Jalen Hurts out of the equation in 2024, do the Philadelphia Eagles win a Super Bowl? No one can really answer that question. If you take the Eagle defensive performance out of the equation in 2024, do the Eagles win a Super Bowl? No, they do not. You take Saquon Barkley out of the equation in 2024, do the Eagles win the Super Bowl? No, they do not. Do you see what my point here? You take those two things out, the Eagles don't win a Super Bowl. You take Jalen Hurts out, you don't know. You don't know what would happen. Because what Jalen Hurts did, or I should say what he did not do, through the first 4 weeks of the season was gain confidence from his team and his coaching staff to be considered a person that could win them a big game consistently. So they went to a run-heavy type of an attack. Which got them a Super Bowl championship. And I've said this over and over again, week by week as the season has gone. Fine. If that's the way it is, fine. Let's let it be. And they won. They won a championship. Let it be that. Let it be the fact that the Eagles won a championship. Stop it with the nonsense that he's the greatest quarterback in Eagle history. Stop. You sound foolish. You just can't let it be, right? And then the other thing when it comes to the homers, right? The other thing that has sort of not irked me. Again, as I said this before, I feel sorry for the homers. I do, and I'm here for you. I'm a friend. I'm an ally. I want you to get the help you need to beat this infliction. It's okay to be a fan of a team without being completely blind to reality. Absolutely. The other thing about the homers is this. Okay, so I've taken some backlash over my trade proposal of Saquon Barkley being dealt with right now. Why would you not consider that? Why would you not? A rational fan, a fan of a team, a fan who wants to see the success, a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, not a fan of Saquon Barkley, but a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, would want to see the Eagles put themselves in a position to be successful for the next 10 to 15 years. And if your so-called Hall of Fame GM, Howie Roseman, is truly that type of a GM, then why don't you strike while the iron's hot? Why don't you deal Saquon now where you can get max value for this guy? Have we not personally, as a franchise, been down this road before with running backs? Have we not seen this firsthand with a running back who was a rushing leader, the rushing award winner the year prior, comes to Philadelphia, and then he can't get out of his own damn way the following season? Did we not just go through that? So why is it such a far out, way out concept to try to deal your most valuable piece who's got a lot of mileage on him, your most valuable piece who's got a lot of mileage on him for a king's ransom? I'm not saying trade him 1-for-1 for a first round draft pick. No, again, do your homework and your research about what the Herschel Walker trade is. Understand what it was, and what it meant to the Dallas Cowboys of the early 90s. They built their Super Bowl dynasty through that one trade. And they were given the same sideways look back then when they dealt Herschel. Are you kidding me? He's a great asset. He's your only asset. Now you're trading him for a bunch of draft picks that may or may not work out. And guess what? It worked out. So I give was that Jimmy Johnson? Back then, I don't know. He wasn't the GM. Jerry Jones was the GM. Well, whoever the GM was back then, I don't know who it was. But why is it such a far out concept to think that doing the same thing to Saquon Barkley right now, when he is at his max value, he'll never be this valuable again? Never. Why is that such a far out concept to set this team up for some success going forward? Because there's some holes in this team that are about to be exposed, starting in about a month when free agency starts. Right? Don't we have problems at edge? We got problems now along the defensive line because we're losing some players. We still got a problem at linebacker, right? We still got some depth issues in offense. So why not use what Saquon could bring to you right now? Because if the defense is what it is advertised to be, if the 2024 defense is not a mirage or not a flash in the pan or literally the beginning of something truly remarkable, then that defense really is not going to miss a beat because most of those players are under contract. So you can maybe survive a year of potential offensive, I don't know, growth or trying to figure each other out with some new players. You could survive that for a year with your vaunted defense right now. Go in and assist your offense to get better. So I stand by my proposal. I think it would be a great move. I think it would be a move that would set the Eagles up for literally the next 10 years, if they were able to do it correctly. So we'll get into some of that as well. Wow, we're 23 minutes in, and I have not even gotten to the first part of the program. But let's backtrack. Let's get into our day of Philadelphia sports history as we typically do on the program. February 12th, way back in 1930, A's owner-manager Connie Mack, Christian name was Cornelius McGillicuddy. I would go by Connie Mack too if that was my name. Won the prestigious Edward W. Bach Prize, known today, or known right after 1930 as the Philadelphia Award, given to the Philadelphia citizen who, during the preceding year, greatly affected and acted on behalf of the best interests of the community. Connie Mack was the first sports figure ever to win that prestigious award, given to a Philadelphia citizen who impacted the community in a positive way. So happy Bach Award Day to Connie Mack on this day back in 1939 or 1930. I'm sorry. Was it 39 or 30? Let me reopen that book here. 1930. Because don't forget, the A's won the World Series in 29. But anyway, there you go. There's your day in Philadelphia sports history. And also tonight on the program, we are going to do our of the night segment and our card review, as we have to continue with those procedural additions because we're into as I mentioned, we're into baseball. Hockey, of course, is at their all-star break. The Four Nations tournament starts tonight. Team Canada versus Team Sweden is throwing down right now in round one action. I believe Team USA is playing tomorrow night. So we're going to maybe touch a little bit on hockey tonight. I've really kind of ran out of energy to talk about the Flyers. I ain't gonna lie to you. I certainly have. It's been rough. It's been a rough season for me with the Flyers, man. I wasn't prepared for this type of one step forward, two step back type of year the Flyers have been on. But we will try to get into the Flyers. And of course, our card review, as I mentioned. So buckle up, strap up, keep your hands and feet inside the car at all times, and let us go. Steve joining the program. Did I start a war with my Herschel Walker simile? Do I guess I don't have to keep my mouth shut anymore? No, Steve. I was told by this that your boy made a comment about that. Somebody told me he made a comment about that today. No, Steve, listen, I thought that was insightful, creative, innovative move to be made because, I mean, Howie Roseman's always been kind of billed as the guy that gets rid of them year too early than you're too late. And that's actually a better way to do business, right? Because you want to try to capitalize and market on your talent. No, your comment has nothing to do with my war with that boob over there in the mornings. No, absolutely nothing to do with it, Steve. Please, you're fine. Yeah, you continue down your own path, man. But no, I thought it was I think that's a great trade proposal. I applaud you for thinking about it, and I'm happy to have been the one to run it. I believe it's got like 1,000 views on YouTube right now. I put up a little graphic about it. So I think it's a narrative that needs to be explored because how many times have we seen this? You know, and I don't wish Saquon Barkley any ill will, and I don't wish him any injuries. Absolutely don't. But what happens if he goes left and his knee goes right? What happens if, he just doesn't have that little burst of speed that he had all this past season? What happens if what happened to him in the Super Bowl is more of a blueprint of how to stop him than an anomaly of how they stopped him? I mean, there's a lot of different variables here. One of the variables that probably is the most unlikely one is for him to replicate in any way what he did in 2024. And again, I go back to the question that I asked at the top of the program. Saquon Barkley doesn't rush for 2,500 yards and 20 touchdowns, whatever it was. Do the Eagles win a Super Bowl? If say that 25 is at 1,200, do the Eagles win a Super Bowl, Steve? I mean, he was 38% of their total offense in 2024. That was a stat that was alarmingly one-sided all season long. The Eagles never found another facet of their offense, and the homers will tell you, oh, they didn't have to. Why fix it if it ain't broke? Okay, but what happens when it breaks? And what happens if it breaks? What is the other facet of this offense? And can you sit here and tell me that he's going to rush for 2,500 yards in 2025? I mean, you also can't sit here and tell me that he won't. I get that. But the likelihood of him repeating that performance in 2025 is pretty unlikely. And the fact that the Eagle offense was so one-layered, does that not scare anybody else? Does that not concern anybody else? And they are now going to be hunted. So guess what? Teams are going to get that little extra to play them week to week next season. Don't you think you need something else layered into that offense? And now you throw in the fact that you need a new offensive coordinator and what kind of drama that might bring along with it. If you're able to move off of your best asset, who's got probably the most mileage on him too, and you're able to bring back a haul of draft capital that could set you up for 10 years, that could truly be the foundation of a dynasty. We spoke the same way coming out of the 2017 season. Oh, they're going to run it back in 18. We get Carson Wentz back. We're going to win another one. This is the age of the Eagle dynasty right now, 2018. And we saw how that did not work. We saw that Carson was one step slower than he was in 2017. We saw how everybody seemed to age 5 years in the offseason. We saw how Corey Clement was no longer the X factor or the secret weapon. He was nothing. Jay Ajayi was injury prone. We've seen this before. So, and Howie has personally witnessed it. He went through it. And look where it led us. It led us from the Super Bowl in 17, and it led us to 20, which was a dreadful season that cost Doug Peterson his job. Why not prevent that from happening in the future? And if you have a way to do that, and that way would be Saquon Barkley, why not do it? Why not exercise that way? If he, and I mean he as Howie Roseman, is this alleged great general manager, and I've also said this, if he pulls something like this off, slate is clean with me and Howie. Right off the bat. Slate is clean. Because I will have a lot more respect for him if he did something like this, because he would have the betterment of the Philadelphia Eagles in mind, not the betterment of Saquon Barkley. And that is another problem in the infliction of Homerism. It's not about the teams. And that's what's really concerning about me. The slobbering homers walk around with their green sunglasses on, their red and white sunglasses on, their orange and black, their red, white, and blue. I got all the colors. They preach like they're in love with the teams, but they're not. They're in love with the players. Pure and simple. It's about the number. It's about the name on the back. It's not about the name on the front. And that is one of the more annoying parts of Homerism, is that they sit here and tell you that they love their Eagles, they love their Sixers, they love their Flyers, they love their Phillies, but they don't. They love Bryce Harper. They love Saquon Barkley. They love Maxey. They love Mitchkoff. That's who they love. That's who they really love. They gravitate to them. You shouldn't gravitate towards a player. You gravitate towards the team. And when you lose your way and you lose that edge, you become a homer and you become an anti-fan, in my opinion. And I am going to make it my life's work from this point forward to eradicate the world of Philadelphia sports homers. If I see a homer, they're going to die. I'm going to eliminate a homer from the landscape. One a day is my quota. They are the problem to this. They don't fall in love. Of course, I mean that sarcastically. I'm not going out to murder anybody, so just calm down. They fall in love with the name on the back, not the name on the front. And they are, but they'll sit there and tell you to your face, oh, it's all about the Eagles, the Flyers. No, man, it's not. It's all about them gravitating and falling in love with a player. That means nothing. The success of the Philadelphia Eagles, not the success of the Saquon Barkleys. And that's where homers fall off the path. That is the first problem. If you think you're a homer, that is the first test. It's a home test you can give yourself. You got to look in the mirror and say, if I had to choose between the Eagles and Saquon Barkley, who would I choose? And if you say Saquon Barkley, you're a homer. Simply put. You weren't prepared to create Cam York regression videos this year, LOL. He is on your new Frost Farabee list, or you've given him some more time. Listen, I know I've been pretty hard on him. Yeah, I have. Because I had so much expectations for Cam York. I looked at Cam York as the love child between Mark Howell and Eric Desjardins, with Chemo Timonen as his uncle. That's kind of how I looked at Cam York. And maybe I was a little lofty in that expectation. But based on what he did last year, a defenseman in hockey, Steve, is a lot like a defenseman in or a cornerback in football. The least you hear about them, their names on a night-to-night basis, that means they're doing their job, right? And that's what Cam York was doing last year. And he was sprinkling a lot of offense, too. A lot more offense than I thought he was going to. And the regression of his defensive ability this season has been really the most glaring part of him. No, he is not yet gravitated down to the Farabee Frost list. And by the way, I like to say I was right about that. We're a Farabee and Frost right now. Yeah, obviously they're gone. So I do have some knowledge that I can actually see with my own two eyes. But no, I'm not putting Cam York there yet. I still have a lot of faith in him, a lot of confidence in him. I still think he is a cornerstone player for the future of this team. And I still want to see him because I've seen also his plus side. Offensively, he's a 15 goal guy a season, right? Defensively, he's a shutdown defender, and he's a quarterback, and we need both of those. Jamie Drysdale concerns me more right now than Cam York does. I still have big dreams for Cam York, and I wish him still the best of luck. And I think it'll work out. I think it'll work out. The best teams and GMs know how to make the tough decisions and keep the flow of assets and personnel moving with it. Yeah, and Steve, when did we found ourselves in the same boat in 2018? We didn't have a first round pick that year in the draft, right? That was the Dallas Goedert, Avonte Maddox, Jordan Mailata draft, which of course how we hit on all the players they did draft that year. That's a fact. But I'm not saying we don't have any first round picks this year. We do, but if we can sweeten the pot. And again, I preferences, and I think a lot of the homers get upset because they don't know what the Herschel Walker trade is. They truly don't know what the impact of that trade was on that franchise. I mean, it literally built the Cowboys Super Bowls of the mid-90s. One trade built that whole thing. Now, of course, the Cowboys had to select the right players, but it was almost like a situation where, the pro program selecting out of places like Miami, selecting out of places like Florida, pro programs in college. The GM didn't get too smart. He wasn't trying to be the smartest guy. He took the best player on the board available, and obviously it worked out. And that's what I think it would be a no-brainer in that type of situation if the Eagles could move up. And I'm not talking sending Saquon Barkley to the damn Chiefs. No, I'm saying, you probably can talk Cleveland into it. You could probably talk, hell, the Giants back into it. I'd send him back to New York in a heartbeat if I could, or send him to the other New York team, the Jets. You could talk them into it. You're going to send him to one of them bottom feeder teams that you can exploit draft picks off of for at least 2 years. My trade would spread out over 4 seasons. I would have first round picks this year. I'd have a first round and a second next year, a first and a second year 3, and 2 seconds in year 4. That would be the haul that I'd be looking for a Saquon Barkley-like trade. I'm not giving him up for peanuts. I'm giving him up for something that I can set my damn teeth into and continue to build and reinforce this team over the next 10 years. And how stupid is everybody going to look like in week 3 when his ACL fries and he never is the same ever again after that? And then we're not only are we stuck with him for the rest of 2025, but we're stuck with a half Saquon Barkley in 2026. I'm just saying, you have an opportunity right now to strike while the iron's hot. It's not about Saquon Barkley. It's about the Philadelphia Eagles. And if the homers out there are real fans, they would understand that. And they would be all systems go with trading a player like Barkley right now when he could get you the most in value back for him. And he's got a manageable cap situation and a manageable contract to trade. Nobody's taking Jalen Hurts' contract off our hands. Why would they? No one's going to take Jalen Hurts off our hands either. Saquon Barkley provides that for you right now. Right now, he could be the piece that you could give up and still not miss a beat in 2025. You still got a prolific wide receiver core. You still got an elite quarterback that you can use to throw the football to those prolific wide receivers. Go ahead and draft Scatadoo, whatever that guy's name from Arizona State is. He should be available at 32 in the first round. Draft him. He could be your bridge to another running back. He would be an electric running back running behind that offensive line. That would be fun next year, watching that kid tear it up for the Eagles. It would be fun. And you would set your team up for not missing a beat. But no, we're going to sit on Saquon Barkley because what? Do we owe him something now? Do the Eagles or do the homers owe him? When the homers pray to their dark lord at night to get certain things bestowed upon him, was one of those things undying allegiance to Saquon friggin' Barkley? And if it is, again, that's a problem with Homerism. I'm here. I can break the Dark Lord's grip upon you. Just come forward. I'll get the deprogrammer. We'll go to a warehouse near you, and we'll work on it. It's not about Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. Sorry, His Highness Jalen Hurts. or any of the others. It's about the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you don't want to dip off, if you don't want to fall off, and if you want to win a dynasty, because last time I checked, that's what I wanted to do. I want to win a dynasty. I want to be the dynasty. Then you got to make those types of moves instead of sitting back and hoping to God, he rushes for 2,500 yards again. Oh, come on, Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. Or, hail the Dark Lord, give us one more year. Just saying, man, you got to be smart. The Penguins and Patriots were good at that. They absolutely were, Steve. They were. And what were the Penguins and Patriots in their day? Both of them have gone through dynasty-like periods of time, correct? I don't know. Maybe I'm just checking, man. Just checking it. Herschel Walker trade netted like Russell Marlin, Darren Woods, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin was part of that trade, too. Michael Irvin was part of that trade. Emmitt Smith, Russell Marlin, Darren Woodson, Irvin. There's another couple players. I want to say Moose was part of that, too. Gerald Johnston. He was part of that trade. They built the core of their dynasty from one friggin' trade. People talk about trades, and on this program last week, we talked about the Eric Lindros, or not the Lindros, but the Recchi to the Canadians for Recchi, for Leclerc and Desjardins and Dion. That was by far the best trade, in my opinion, in Philadelphia sports history. That trade turned completely the entire franchise of the Flyers around for about a 10 to 12 year period. Right? That was the first time and only time that's ever happened that I can remember for a team in this city. You know, I hate the Cowboys, and I hated them, and I've hated them all my life. And when they were 1-15 in 1988 and they struggled, fired Landry, hired Jimmy Johnson. No, they weren't 1-15 in 88. What were they, like 6-10 or something like that? They were 1-15 in 89 in Johnson's first year. Those were the best days of my life. But then I remember the day. When they're like, oh, Herschel Walker got traded to the Minnesota Vikings for like 8 draft picks spread out over 3 years. And I'm like, oh no. And I was like 15, 16 years old. And I had the insight to understand what they were doing. And what did they do? Well, Steve's mentioning a couple of the players right there. That's what they did. And they built a dynasty, a Super Bowl dynasty out of one trade. The Eagles can do that right now. They have the opportunity to do that. And there's nothing wrong with exploring that. The Eagles don't owe Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, any of them, nothing. Now the Homers do. The Homers have to have this a personal allegiance to these people. Devontae Smith doesn't care about trending in the AM. Devontae Smith doesn't give a damn about Phil. All right? He don't care about Phil. Why does Phil care about him? Phil should care about the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm using Phil sort of out of just a filler here. I'm not trying to pinpoint him. Why do we feel like we have to have a personal connection with these people, but these people don't have a personal connection with us? The connections with the Philadelphia Eagles, the connections with that helmet back there. Where is it? It's right there. That helmet back there. That's the connection. About the helmet around my wall. That's the connection that we're supposed to have. Not about the person, as I'm staring at my Mike Schmidt jersey. He's an anomaly. All right. Why do we feel like we have to have this personal connection with these players? It's about the Lombardi trophies. It's not about whether or not Saquon Barkley feels happy about being an Eagle. I could care less about that. I could care less about any of their personal feelings about where they work at every day. It's about winning Super Bowls. And if your GM, because I still refer to him as yours, but if your GM is ready to be the GOAT, is ready to be the greatest GM of football history, if he pulls off now does it have to be Saquon Barkley? No, of course not. Could be A.J. Brown. Could be Devontae. Could be any one of them. But right now, in my opinion, Saquon has the most value. But if he could pull off a trade like that and set this team up for the next 10 years, all is forgiven as far as I'm concerned. 100%. All is forgiven. I was one of the few that loved the Recchi trade when it happened, but I liked it because of Rico and Dion. Turned out Leclerc was for real. Yeah, and I remember that as well. John Leclerc, I think prior, I mean, he wasn't a slouch for the Canadians. Leclerc was a 20 to 25 a year goal scorer, but he was nothing like he became for the Flyers. It was obviously pairing him up with the right guy in Lindros that opened up that whole side of his career. I mean, John LeClair is one of the greatest players ever to play in USA hockey history. He's in that developmental program. He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame for USA Hockey. It's not like, again, he's some scrub that fell off the turnip truck in Vermont, walked across the border and joined the Canadians. No, I mean, he was drafted and, cultivated, and he was a good hockey player, but something changed when he came here. And it had to be the pairing up of him and Lindros that just turned his career, into a 50 goal scorer season 4 times in his time with the Flyers. And it literally changed the fortunes of the franchise. And we forget about Desjardins, not talked about too much. He anchored the blue line for the next 7-8 years better than I thought Mark Howell did, that he preceded. And slightly worse than Kimmo Timonen did. I mean, Eric Desjardins is one of the best defensive players in Flyers hockey history. And when I get around to it, which I am, we just finished my Phillies all-time lineup of all, I did that a couple weeks ago, but I am about to start my Flyers all-time roster, which will consist of 4 lines and 3 defensive pairings and 2 goalies and a coach. So I'm getting ready to do that. I haven't started that yet, but it's on my list to do. And Eric Desjardins is on there. And spoiler alert, he's one of my defensemen of all time. So it was one of those trades. And Danny B, God knows Danny B needs a trade like that. He needs a trade like that for the Flyers to jumpstart this whole damn thing. And unfortunately, I don't know if that's coming. What happened with Raj? He fell too in love. What happened with Raj? Who's Raj? Raj. He fell too in love. Who's that? LeClair had the stamina to get those. Yeah, he did. He did. He did. But it was a great trade. Remember it like it was yesterday. Steve. All right. So again, going back to the conversation that we started here tonight, it's not a conversation essentially geared towards the Saquon Barkley proposal trade, which I still stand by. I think it's a great trade. And Steve, I know Steve is the one who put it out there. I've kind of taken it and I'm running with it. I think it's an innovative. I think it's a smart trade. I think it would separate Howie Roseman from the rest of the GMs. And Ruben Amaro Jr., he fell in love too. Yes, he did. He absolutely did. He fell in love with the teams of the 08, 09, 10, 11. He was unwilling to make the trades when they needed to be made. Was he even involved in trading Utley? Yeah, he was still there, right? He was unwilling to make the trades. He should have sent Worth at the trade deadline that year, knowing he wasn't going to be able to re-sign him, knowing that they were fishing for Cliff Lee. There were some hard trades that he could have made that could have kept that thing going, and not only kept that thing going, maybe gotten us a World Series in 10 or 11. But you're right, he fell in love too, and it happens. I'm not blaming, but Ruben Amaro was the GM, right? And I got it. They're fishing around for trying to keep their jobs. They're trying to milk everything they can. Howie Roseman should have no fear of losing his job, right? As much as I hear about things and about the way his relationship is with Jeff Lurie, he could pretty much set fire to the NovaCare complex and get away with it, right? So why would Howie Roseman fear making a trade like that? There should be no fear of losing a job when it comes to trading Saquon Barkley or a trade like that. What is Howie going to do to keep this thing rolling? What is what's the game plan? And I know we are 3 days removed, or what's tomorrow? Thursday, 2 days removed from the parade, and people are partying and celebrating, and he's going to hop on a float and get drunk, do some day drinking on Friday. I understand that. But we got a draft and we got free agency bearing down on us and a title defense waiting in the wings. And we've seen it before. It's different when you're the hunted versus the hunter. And are the Eagles prepared to be that? And I don't know. I'm interested to see what he does. I really, really am. I'm interested to see how he does in the offseason to try to keep the Eagles on top of the heap. But yeah, so Birds love versus Homerism. And Homerism is a real problem. It's a disease. It's an affliction. It affects millions of people. And I'm here for you. I am here. The It's a Wrap Sports Network and MattyB are here for you. Sal G is here for you too. Well, no, he's not. Sal's one of you, and so is Mike Lauro. So essentially, I'm here. I am here for you. All right, and my network is here for you. I will give you a voice, a platform, and for any homers out there, and this goes to you all, and I won't name names because there's too many of you to name. But any homers want a piece of me, be a man about it and debate me face to face, man to man. Stop taking shots at me. Stop taking shots like some sort of child in the back of the classroom. You want a piece of me? You want a war? I'll give you a war. Just ask for it, and come at me like a man, and we'll throw down. Because I am what homers can't stand. I am the voice from the wilderness. I am the voice that pulls the homers that are not quite yet homerized, the people that are on the edge or teetering. Oh, could be a homer. I couldn't be a homer. I'm the ones that pull them back. I'm the voice that fights their narrative. I'm the one saying, don't give yourself heart, mind, and soul to a person. Give yourself heart, mind, and soul to a team, but understand that a team is accountable to you because you are the stockholder in a team. You are invested the most in this thing. Eagle fans, Flyers fans, Sixer fans, Phillies fans, we are the number one investment holders. We should be the ones most affected by the wins or the losses. And we are, but we somehow try to gravitate that or deflect that onto Bryce Harper or onto Saquon Barkley or onto Maxey or onto Matt V. Mitchkov for some odd, silly reason. It's okay to be critical of your teams. Absolutely. And even in the face of a Super Bowl championship, which I did not want to be. I wanted to enjoy it just like everybody else. But they threw down the gauntlet, man, by talking dynasty not more than 10 hours after they won the Super Bowl. Talking the GOAT. The GOAT. Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts' performance in 2024, and more specifically in the Super Bowl, was the reason why the Eagles are the world champions, because we could not have won without him. Damn what Saquon Barkley did. The damn what the defense did. No. It was about Jalen Hurts and his ability to not turn the football over and never throw the ball to the middle of the field. That is why we won the Super Bowl, and we needed him to specifically do those things because we couldn't trust some scrubby-ass backup quarterback to do the same thing. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys are seeing it a different way. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong. Maybe I don't see, well, I don't see it the way you do because my eyes are open, but maybe I am wrong. Maybe I need to sit back and take a closer look. Maybe I need to see exactly what this mystique about Jalen Hurts is, because I honestly don't see it. Because I will go to bed tonight, tomorrow night, and the next 20,000 nights thinking and knowing that Jalen Hurts had little to nothing to do with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl in 2024. I'm sorry, especially after Week 4. We don't talk about Week 4 anymore. We don't talk about what they did and why they did it and how it worked. Absolutely. So Homerism versus Birds love. There's a difference. And the primary difference is people that love the Eagles love the name on the front. Homers love the names on the back. And that is one of the things that got to change in order for a homer to be saved. And again, I'm here. This is a PSA more than anything else. It is a PSA to all my homer friends out there. There's a chance for you. There's hope for you. There's a way forward. You can be saved. I know you're crying out to be saved. And I want to be the one that saves you. So please reach out. Reach out to me and I'll do my very best with no judgment. No judgment here. Because the first step in admitting that there's a problem is admitting that there's a problem. And I'm here for you to do that. So I hope I made a difference in a homer's life tonight. even the most slobbering of the homers. I hope I made a difference. But if I haven't, there'll be another shot at it tomorrow, because at 4:15, mark it on your calendar. Yup, the grand wizard of the homers, Kyle Quinn, is going to pay me a final visit of the season. Kyle is going to sit down with me, and we're going to wrap up the Birds Blast as we review in somewhat detail Super Bowl 59. Talk a little bit about the excellence that was that Philadelphia Eagle defense, the importance of 23 turnovers in 7 games, and more importantly, the way ahead. What is next for the Philadelphia Eagles? What does Kyle Quinn see as the next steps? What are we doing in free agency? What are we doing in the draft? And then, yes, we will take a deeper dive, more deeper than we have, at this. The 2025 Philadelphia Eagles schedule, as it is in its entire glory, staring out in front of us all right now. Is it too early to get concerned about this? Is it too early for me to look at that road schedule and say, this has got like 2022 vibes written all over it? The home schedule seems pretty simple. There's like 1 or 2 teams there that scare me. I see basically that Detroit game. Yeah, I could go either way. Denver might come in here and sneak a win through. And the Rams. But other than that, I mean, Chicago, the Raiders, Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders, not really that much there on the home side, but it's really going to be won in 2025 on the road. I mean, that's a gauntlet to ask any team to go through. Hope they get the Buffalo and Kansas City and Green Bay games out of the way with early in the season, and then have to go to Minnesota, LA, and Tampa at the back end of the season, as to not have to deal with the weather, which could be a problem in places like Kansas City, Green Bay, and Buffalo. So it's going to be a bitch of a schedule. It's going to be a fun schedule to watch. And, man, me and Kyle are going to cut up a little bit about it. And I know it's somewhat too soon to really get into the 2025 schedule when you don't know who the team is. You don't know who's going to be running things. You don't have an offensive coordinator. But we are going to get our first impressions of what the 2025 schedule might look like. And of course, for those of you that are not aware of this, the Eagles, at virtue of their Super Bowl win, have the honor of kicking off the 2025 season at home against a opponent to be named later. And I put out another graphic. I believe that for a marketing purpose, and pretty much marketing purposes alone, Eagles-Lions on September 4th, Thursday Night Football, just smacks of a real good way to start the season. Can't do the Chiefs because we're not playing Kansas City at home, but that to me looks like a really good way for the NFL to get things kind of revved up. I would say if you're asking me, I say Eagles Lions or Eagles Rams. I don't think they'll do a NFC East game. They're not going to send out the Raiders, Broncos, or Bears. It'll be either the Lions or one of the West Coast teams that do have to travel here, which would be the Rams, in my opinion. That would be the best matchup. So either Eagles Rams or Eagles Lions is the game I would be looking to see. I think that would be the more fun way to start the season. So, but more to follow on that as we get deeper into the offseason. The schedule comes out in its entirety in May. So with that being said, let's get over now to the of the night topic, or of the night segment. All right, this is the of the night segment. This is the part of the show where we talk about a Flyers prospect, a Phillies prospect, a MLB draft target, NHL draft target. We spotlight a Flyers player or a Phillies player as well, and just kind of either introduce you to them or reintroduce you to them, depending on where you might stand. Last night we dwelled back in baseball with the Phillies. We spotlighted Jordan Romano, the Phillies' new back end of the bullpen piece, who's hoping to reclaim a lost 2024 season due to injury. Tonight, we're back. We're staying in baseball, but we're going to go into the MLB draft. We've done I think tonight will be the 6th player we've spotlighted so far in this upcoming MLB draft. Just let's go over them real quick. We talked Luke Stevenson, the catcher from North Carolina. We talked Ethan Holiday, the shortstop, who's currently a senior in Stillwater High School in Oklahoma. He is the younger brother of Jackson Jackson Holiday, and the youngest son of Matt Holiday. So another Holiday is looking to make his. He is actually the consensus number one pick right now in February. So we spoke about him a little bit. We also talked about some Jace Lavalette, the outfielder from the Texas A&M Aggies. Caden Bodie, Bodine, the catcher from Coastal Carolina, and the left-hand pitcher from Florida State, Jamie Arnold. And that leads us to tonight's prospect. It is the shortstop from Arkansas, Wihiwa Aloy, the shortstop from Arkansas. I don't think he's from Arkansas. I would imagine. I think he's from Hawaii. But he earned WAC Conference Freshman of the Year accolades at Sacramento State in 2022 before transferring to Arkansas and hitting 270, 355, and 485 last season. His combination of bat speed and strength produces high exit velocity and power to all fields. Though he needs to cut down on the tendencies to chase pitches out of the strike zone, he is capable shortstop, but could outgrow that position. So based upon this sort of like breakdown, he fits the Phillies profile pretty well. Tendency to chase pitches out of the strike zone, but he probably projects more of a Bryson Stott type of player, maybe a second baseman. Potentially might see his way either to first or the outfield as well. Don't see him playing much third base, but when they say he could potentially outgrow the position, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about maybe his speed comes down a little bit and he needs to kind of not be there. But I think he stays in the infield in some ways. Second base, he projects to me, and he reminds me a lot of Bryson Stott in his game. Go ahead and Google him. He's all over YouTube. You can watch some of his highlights, but a good-looking young shortstop project. Top 10, maybe a top 15, more of a top 15 projection at this particular moment in time. You know, baseball's funny because what we're talking about here in February has no bearing on what it's going to look like in July. We talked about Ethan Holiday being right now the consensus number one. Well, that could change 5 or 6 times before we get to July, you know, and we'll see how that works out. But right now, I say he projects out to be about a top 15 player and a good project player for a team that's looking for a infielder of some sort to work with. So there you have it. Tonight's MLB 2025 draft prospect, Wihiwa Aloy from the University of Arkansas. And again, I don't think he's from Arkansas. I think he's from a little west of there, but there you go. There you have it. The of the night segment in the books. All right, let's head over now to my favorite part of the night.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
All right, this is our MattyB's card review segment, the part of the program where we get back and we talk some baseball, football, hockey, basketball cards. I have an extensive sport card collection. So after taking about 2 or 3 months this past summer and organizing it all, we're now breaking some cards down. We're pulling a card tonight, talking about the player, talking a little bit about where I might have found this card, talking some of that nostalgia around the card itself, maybe some financial value of the card. Also some intrinsic value as well. We've been doing this for a few months. We're going to continue doing it. It is definitely my favorite part of the night. And we're going, I think last night we were in football. Amon St. Brown was our card of the night. Tonight we're back in baseball, and we're back to that iconic 87 Topps baseball set, a set of cards that is everywhere if it's anywhere, because everybody has them and everybody has a bunch of them. It was one of the more widely distributed sets of baseball cards in the history of the Topps brand. And by the way, they leaked Series 1 2025 Topps. I believe they're available, I want to say today. I want to say they're available today or Friday. Within the next few days, 2025 Topps Series 1 will be available for sale. As I'm telling you, man, we're back. We've made it back to the baseball season. So, but back to the business at hand. So tonight, the 87 Topps, here it is. It's Cecil Fielder. Yes, that's right. Cecil Fielder, who in 87 was really, 87 ended up being the year that he stuck with the Blue Jays. Prior to the 87 season, he was up and down with the minors. spent some time with Toronto, came up the back end of the 85 season, made it out of camp in 86 with the Blue Jays, spent about the first 35 games with the Blue Jays, but then went back to AAA and spent the remainder of the 86 season in AAA. But then in 87, really returned in a dominant force for the Blue Jays. Some career highlights of Cecil. He was a 3-time All-Star starting in 90, 91, and 93. He was a World Series champion in 96, 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner, a 2-time AL home run leader, and a 3-time AL RBI leader. So it took him a minute, but he really did kind of round into form. And it was that 87 season that he did it in. He was with Toronto from 85 to 88. Then he went to Japan for a year in 89. And then when he returned in 90 with the Tigers, that's when he really kind of like cemented himself. 6 years with Detroit. And then a couple seasons with the Yankees, A's, and finished it up with the Indians in 98. And the Angels and Indians in 98 before calling it a career. So an interesting career for Cecil. Took him a minute to get going, but once he did, he really solidified himself as one of the premier power hitters of the late 80s, early 90s. Finishes with a 255 batting average, 319 career home runs, 1,008 RBIs, and again, made a really interesting career out of himself. Of course, his son Prince Fielder is in the league now, and really had himself. The career really worked out for him. And this card, I remember when he blew up in 87. As I said, 87 was the first decent year that he had, and the first year that he kind of stuck. This was one of the cards that a lot of kids my age were starting to gravitate towards. This is not the image that we all remember Cecil Fielder. The image most of us remember him is a little bit more heavier without the beard and what have you. But this was the younger version of Cecil Fielder. So there you go. There it is, the 87 Cecil Fielder, our card of the night. And here it is in its physical form right here. This particular version of the card is in pretty good shape, good centering. It's cut well. There's no cutting issues. Corners are really good. Seems to be no dimming of the picture as well. Right now, you can find this card on multiple databases, depending on where you're looking at, anywhere between $10 and $25. And it's pretty impressive for a card that was not his rookie card and basically was just, it was the card of the year that he kind of stuck. But yeah, a pretty impressive amount of money for a card of this type at this stage of his career. So yeah, about $10 to $25 is the value of this card, depending on where you're looking or who you're looking with. So there you go. Cecil Fielder, man, our card of the night here on the MattyB card review segment. So I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed creating that. And we'll, of course, be back tomorrow wrapping that segment up for the week. And folks, it's going to wrap me up tonight. That's right. We've come to the end of another journey together. And I want to thank you all. Steve, thank you for participating in the chat, and everybody else for watching. It was a very therapeutic episode for me tonight as I got off my chest for about the umpteenth thousandth time, the problem I have with homers and the difference between being a bird lover and being a homer. And we talked about it in depth. And I also said that, and I will always say this about the homers, I don't judge you. I know it's a disease. I know you're suffering, and I'm here to help. And I want you to come forward so I can help you. And then maybe we can all then see things not the same way, but a little bit more on the same level. But I went over some things that have irked me about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, and that is not the fact that they won. Of course, that's a great thing. But this ridiculous, idiotic conversations in reference to Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and now, I guess, Howie Roseman as the greatest of all time and what have you, based off of, I guess I could actually make a conversation for Howie more than I could for Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. Howie's got 2 rings now. But does Brandon Graham go to the Hall of Fame because he's got 2 rings? Does the long snapper go to the Hall of Fame because he's got 2 rings? Does Jake Elliott go to the Hall of Fame because he's got 2 rings? I know we got perspective. We got to keep things in. That's a problem with homers. They don't keep things in perspective. They love the name on the back more than they love the name on the front. And that's the very first symptom of homerism. If you start gravitating towards a player versus the team, then you know you have a problem. So we discussed a little bit about that. I stood behind My proposal to trade Saquon Barkley right now in a Herschel Walker type trade to set up this football team for the next 10 years. That would be the smartest thing Howie Roseman could do. And as I said, it would clear the slate with me and him. I would be back on Team Howie if he pulled off something like that. We went over our of the night segment. We were talking some MLB draft and our card segment as well with Cecil Fielder. So a productive program here on the network here tonight. Again, we'll remind everybody that tomorrow at 4:15 p.m., the final episode of season 5 of the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn will air. Me and Kyle will give you our last wrap up of the Super Bowl and then talk about what's next. What's next for the Philadelphia Eagles in all the offseason glory. And then I'll be back at you tomorrow night with the final episode of the final word of MattyB for the week as we'll wrap up our broadcasting week. No Clear the Ice as we didn't talk hockey either. That's like the 4th night in a row I didn't talk hockey. I'm having a hard time, man, trying to muster up the energy to speak about the Flyers. But we didn't talk hockey. They're on their Four Nations tournament break. Team USA or Team Canada versus Team Sweden as we speak. Tomorrow, Team USA will throw down in the Four Nations tournament. So make sure you're tuned in for that. It's all ESPN, TNT, and all that. And if you are a baseball fan, not a Major League Baseball fan, well, if you are a Major League Baseball fan, then you know that spring training officially started today. Pitchers and catchers reported both in the Cactus and the Grapefruit Leagues in Arizona and Florida, the Phillies among them. And for you college baseball fans, and I don't mean that college, but baseball fans, Division I college baseball will start in force on Friday afternoon around the country as they'll be kicking off their 2025 baseball season. So it's here. It's back. It's a beautiful day, and I hope the wait was worth it. And now we have a whole bunch of other things to disagree about as the Phillies will start their season here soon. And then, oh yeah, we didn't mention the parade. I didn't give you my parade thing. Friday at 11, be there, be square, Broad Street, and then the Benjamin Franklin Parkway as they'll wrap up again at the Art Museum. So make sure you get there. If you have not been to a parade, highly recommend you go. I went to the one in 17-18. It was a fun experience. I will not be in attendance for this one. But if you have not been, you must go. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. You have to find a way down there because you'll have a great time and have a fun time and a safe time. So we will talk again tomorrow as we will wrap up our broadcast week. Until then, I want you guys to have a great rest of your night and an even better tomorrow.